So here are all of my encouragements for you all to make terrible decisions, as I am the GM.
Ash has a crossbow bolt in her side, 0 dots in skirmish, and 0 dots in wreck. And I'm so excited to see this get even worse. So that's 1 vote for escalation.
Skelly has 3 guns and all the ammo.
Crossroads has no guns, but Crossroads is a gun powered by ghosts.
Have we established that your guns are special to you? I feel like we're establishing that your guns are special to you.
Before this crew, they were my only friends.
You've known us for 5 days. You've known those guns a lot longer.
These are my babies.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Rowan was starting to do this, and then he realizes to harvest, this doesn't help. Like, don't do that.
This is not.
No.
This is
Like,
not
don't do this.
nothing.
Yeah.
Doing this to an executioner?
Yeah, that's not
I'm
what you
just
want.
like this, like we call
just
that
like-
the go sign, you know? Like, yeah.
Oh, man.
This theme's great. Alright, we'll do a fortune roll. Notes. No thoughts. Head empty. 1! I rolled a 1!
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome, everyone, to a Friday night stream. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you lovely folks as we are here for a Friday night stream, and we are here most specifically for a little bit of Rebel Crown tonight as we continue in a joint Speculate and my Twitch channel event of Rebel Crown. And I'm going to introduce you to the wonderful crew which is with you to continue moving forward as we put the Splendor back where the Splendor belongs, which is on the throne that was wrongfully taken from them. But before we get any further along with that, just a couple of reminders about ways to support us here on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube, !arvtube, Discord, !arvcord, Twitter, !arvtweets, website, arvanellaron.com. And I'm going to come back to Speculate specifically, which I'll highlight in a minute. !arvshop is the merchandise area for the channel. !arvtreon is my own Patreon, which I certainly appreciate people supporting. And of course, subbing to the channel is always a great thing, which helps us as well. On the publishing side, Icarus, my Icarus graphic novel, Library for Tales and Tomes in the Forbidden Library, and Grayshade KS for the Grayshade Kickstarter. As always, Speculate will give information about the Speculate podcast, which is co-hosted by myself, Mike Underwood, and Brandon O'Brien, and has 2 things running on this channel jointly right now, which is Rebel Crown and also, of course, the long-running Blades in the Dark Case, the Cindered Seal campaign. So we've got that going on. And you can support us with Speculate by going over and supporting our Speculate Patreon, which if you do that, it gives you behind the scenes information, allows you to kind of access stuff that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. Other stuff gets released more exclusively, either exclusively or initially exclusively to people who are supporters of the Patreon over there. And it really does make a difference. It allows us to do things like make that intro video that you just saw, which we were able to do a few months ago, thanks to the support from our Speculate listeners. So I want to welcome all the Speculate listeners, and I want to welcome all of you lovely folks on my channel and encourage you to consider supporting us over there as well. Last but certainly not least, BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others if you need help and to reach out to others if they need help as well. Now we are going to be ready to go, and I'm going to unmute myself so the folks know we're ready to go. I apologize for any conversations I interrupted because I couldn't hear you. And now I'm going to unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to slide on over to here. And you can see that the entire crew, which is totally in the right spot, and in no way have the cameras been messed up so that everyone's not in the right place. That's not at all the case. This is definitely exactly what it looked like when I left everybody here. And it's totally right back to where yes, as I was saying, here is the crew exactly where I left everybody. It's all good. I'm going to hand you over to my good friend, Mike Underwood, to introduce you. Just 2 quick notes, though, technically about the stream. 1, I apologize. We're getting started late. It's basically my fault. 1, because of a misunderstanding about the start time, and 2, because of the mixer issues that those of you watching me a couple days ago ago knew that I was having. I'm happy to say that I have a new mixer now, and the mixer is now up, and I'm back to my normal mic setup, so that's good. But it just, it meant that there were delays, so I apologize. Now, having said all of that, I'm going to hand things over and allow good friend Mike to take it away as we get back into Rebel Crown. Mike, over to you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. And shout out to everybody watching the VOD later on. You also, we love.
Yes.
We love you asynchronously.
I love it. Yes, exactly.
Because June was very busy, we weren't able to play last month. So I'm going to do a little bit of recap on the 2-episode sortie that the retinue had last time around. So the retinue was trying to kind of improve the relationship with House Gearr, which is a house of mercenaries elevated to nobility and kind of the major power in the province of the Sedgelands, which is where the game starts. Having already secured the loyalty and vassalage of Prince Drosten, a leader of a bandit crew. And so last time they did some recon, and somebody asked, like, hey, Mike, what if there was a tournament? And I said, oh, twist my arm. Why don't you? And so we had an impromptu tournament arc, which was very fun. So in the tournament, there was a joust, there was a melee, and there was an archery competition. And Venner tilted in the joust and unhorsed the Man Mountain, who's like a legendary warrior and sworn sword of House Tarb. Harvest entered the melee and wrecking balled through the crowd.
After Venner set up, I just want to be clear, had weakened, the Man Mountain, making it possible for Harvest to wreck face. I just want to be clear that it was all due to the careful.
Whatever you tell yourself to sleep at night.
the careful weakening of certain key points. Anyway, on you go.
So Harvest had made friends with Colm, who was kind of a head of security for Bell Heather, which is the kind of town that is controlled by House Gearr. And Harvest won the melee, but took a pretty nasty injury in the process. And throughout the tournament, Rowan was kind of picking through the crowds and doing some surveillance and keeping an eye out for trouble. And doing a little bit of light cheating on the retinue's behalf.
Light cheating.
And then at the end of the first episode of the sortie, I revealed that Drosten's raiders were being counter-ambushed by a faction of the Sluach, led by Katrina, who is a bounty hunter and Rowan's rival. And then throughout the second episode of the tournament, we flash back and forth as the Sluach kind of had Drosten's raiders on the ropes. And in the end, Drosten's raiders were routed, but not kind of crushed, thanks to the timely intervention of a variety of wildlife sent by Drosten's allies at the Fenag Witches, which is the faction that Rowan's friend Roz is a part of. After the tournament, several of the retinue who competed were invited to the high table, and then they set up the cool entrance of Splendour Ciaran, who kind of made their pitch to all assembled and got an audience with Lady Sienna Segain, who's the head of House Gearr, who at least tentatively agreed to an alliance with the retinue out of mutual antagonism from the lesser House Gearr. And so we will need to do reckoning, the kind of end of mission stuff, and then we will go into downtime. But before we do that, I would love our players to introduce themselves. If I can start with Brandon, if you'd like to introduce yourself and your character in this campaign.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon O'Brien. I am a writer, poet, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago, and 1/3 of the organizational committee of Speculate, alongside Mike and Greg. I will be playing this evening Rowan Byrne, the Outlaw, a renegade member of the Sluach who is attempting to atone for a very bad mistake that may have had some part to play in all of us being in the situation that we're presently in.
All right, Alex.
I'm Alex Acks. I am a writer and a geologist, and I'm playing Splendour Ciaran, who is trying to regain their throne after their dick of an uncle deposed them. And these are all of my helpers who also hate my uncle for reasons all their own.
I'm DongWon Song. I'm a literary agent, and I am playing Harvest Honeysuckle, who is the former royal executioner who has joined Ciaran's cause after briefly working for the other guy. And we are figuring out how we're going to get Ciaran back on the throne together.
And I am Arvin Elleron on this channel. I am Greg Wilson in real life, and the previously mentioned 1/3 of the Speculate crew, author and a college professor. And very excited because I haven't had a chance to announce this via Speculate yet, that my Greyshade Kickstarter, which is going to introduce the Greyshade IP with a board game and a role-playing game and a novel and an audiobook, is launching officially August 31st. It'll conclude on October 3rd with Origins in Columbus. And I'm super excited about it, and I will certainly not at all be talking about this nonstop for the next 2 months when we get there. But anyway, and in this campaign with this wonderful crew, I am playing the Vengeant Venner Crace, who Ciaran is my cousin, and not only should Ciaran be returned to the throne because that is where they belong, but also because, as previously mentioned, the Ciaran's uncle is a dick and also did terrible things to my military strategy, and that cannot stand. And assuming that I can actually stand literally after weakening for Harvest the Man Mountain, I'm looking forward to seeing how we do here.
And I'm Michael R. Underwood, the third Musketeer / Speculate co-host. I'm GMing the game, so I play everybody else, which is a much larger cast, thanks to the last few sessions, as a variety of individuals emerge to join the fray. So at the end of last session, we kind of finished a sortie but didn't do the follow-up stuff. And before that, I want to check in with Greg, because we need to do a little bit of XP for Venner, because I think when we finish these streams, you do the outro and the rest of us do XP. So sometimes we've gotten a little behind. So if you want to pull up Venner's sheet, we can go through that real quick.
That sounds good. Yes, I have 5 levels to go up. And no, I'm just kidding.
By my recollection, we need to do XP for both of that sorties sessions. Does that sound right to you?
I think you're right, yeah.
Okay. So the XP questions are down below the abilities.
Yep.
So the way that this is supposed to work is you can get 1 XP in each category per session.
Right.
So I think what we'll do is I'll ask the questions, and then you tell me if you think it applies and if it applies in each session.
Okay.
So you've been keeping track of your desperate XP to begin with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Although, actually, I don't know that. I think it's conceivable I may not have taken a desperate XP unless there was one right at the end of the Man Mountain and the Joust. But I think, because I think I would have noted it down, and I seem to remember thinking back over it that I don't think I have. I don't
you
believe.
have at least 1 desperate ride.
Maybe that's the one.
And a desperate command.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, well then that's...
I think command was trying to intimidate the Man Mountain.
Oh, all right. Well, it was all part of the Man Mountain is all I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
then,
first
yes.
You'll have those. And then...
okay, so ride and command. Right. Okay.
Yep. So that's 1 in prowess, 1 in resolve.
Yep.
So the first XP question is, you made sacrifices to gain a strategic advantage.
I'm pretty confident. Again, there's going to be a lot of in the joust. What I did was, because there was a lot of that. In fact, I believe I dropped my sword arm. I actually did something to save my horse. I also sacrificed my horse. I did a lot of sacrifices. So I I mean, I don't know. I don't actually remember how the pitch goes for you in terms of how many. But
yeah, so
I'm
it can
pretty
be
confident I got XP there on some level.
basically 1 per session. So, like.
Well, in the joust I did. I don't think I did when Ciaran and I were doing the stuff with House Gearr and trying to convince, at the banquet. I didn't do any sacrifices there, I don't think.
Okay, so that would be 1.
Okay.
The second is you took initiative to preempt a threat.
So, potentially, before I do that, when I put the XP down, does that get marked? That gets marked just in playbook advancement, as opposed to in the actions attribute, right? For the sacrifices.
This XP can go anywhere.
Oh, so it could go into one because I'm wondering whether to just push resolve because
Sure.
I've got 3 in it already. So
Yeah, you can also just like make a tally somewhere, and so you'll know. Okay, I have this many XP total, and then you can arrange them how you see fit.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna
If you'd
put.
rather.
I'll remember that, but I'm gonna put it in resolve for now.
Okay.
Okay. Initiative to preempt a threat. I don't know whether this counts. Rowan and I actually brought Rowan with me specifically because I was trying to, you may remember, scout out
Yep.
what the forces looked like there.
Mhm.
So I would argue that is definitely taking initiative to preempt a threat of some kind. So I would
Yeah, for
say
sure.
1 for that would be my guess. Is it dumb, by the way, for those of you who are experts more than I in Blades in the Dark, to be emphasizing resolve because I already have a lot of XP in it as it is? So I'm trying to do that just so I can get another, because the idea is you fill up resolve and then you can add another tick to one of the resolve things, right? One of the pray command concert of sway.
Yeah.
So does that strike everyone as dumb to be doing that or not?
No, like
No.
there's certainly going to be social stuff to be done throughout the rest of the campaign. So, setting yourself up to have more in command or to round out your resolve with one of the other actions makes sense to me.
Yeah. Okay. So then I'm going to put that XP that I just talked about in resolve as well because I might be able to get it.
Do you think that your interaction with Rob Fiorag is taking initiative to preempt a threat?
That's true that I did go up and find him. The only thing is that did he come find me though?
You talked in either at the end of your joust or in between rounds.
Right. But I didn't I don't want to cheat. So I'm trying to remember if he came to find me.
So
certainly once he came to me, then yes, I certainly pushed it at that point. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I think that would count. And again, with the Forged games, the players decide whether they hit their XP goals.
Right. Okay.
So you get final say.
So then I'm going to say yes. And in that case, I would say that is the case. And so I will put another point resolve, which fills me up, which means I can now put a tick in. I'm going to take another in command.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that, and then I X out. I think I clear out the XP, right? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So the third question is, or the third prompt is, you counseled the claimant to choose aggression over compromise.
I don't believe I did that. I think it's also not. I have to admit that that's the one I'm probably not going to be. I love the Vengeant, but that's one that Venner is not likely to. I mean, yeah, there may be times
plenty aggressive on my own anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not like you're like, oh, I don't know if I can really,
Yeah. So the next one is, you expressed your heritage, background, or scars.
Hell
I think
yes,
Venner
I did
a lot of that.
Yeah,
So,
you damn right I did.
Can you
multiple
pick us
occasions.
one moment from each session that applies to highlight and to help us kind of remember?
Yes, in the first session, in the jousting session, I definitely expressed it in the fact that I knew what the mountain was, that I used my background in history with the Man Mountain specifically to go for a weak spot,
Sure.
and that I believe I even talked about remembering previous examples where I had been struck by the Man Mountain and what I did to sort of avoid having that same thing happen to me this time, because he took me down the first time that we faced off. So that for sure. And then in the second one, I actually, and I'm trying to remember because it has been a little while, but I believe I also expressed both heritage and background, and I think this happened in the second one when Ciaran, when Ciaran and we were with House Gearr and sort of presenting things to Fiona, to the head of House Gearr. And I mentioned something. I'm pretty sure that I talked a lot about emphasizing heritage and background to set up the arrival, at which point then Ciaran did everything else. But I believe I set that up by talking a little bit. In fact, I even think I did that when talking with Ciaran about how we ought to go about this, because I think Ciaran said things from me about how to go about something, dealing with this part. So,
Okay. So
I
that's
would say, yeah, definitely
two
one,
from
but
that.
maybe two, I would say. And for this one, I'm going to put these two into prowess.
Sure.
I think.
And then the last prompt is you expressed your beliefs and drives. And so your beliefs and drives should be listed on your notes section that you can refer to as needed.
So I will claim vengeance by elevating and claiming to the throne of House Lolaire and defeating Maedoc Lolaire in military might. The claimant is my cousin. I appreciate them, but wish they would be more circumspect about wanting to be upfront and personal in combat. Listen, the appreciate is the big part of that sentence that matters there, and definitely a lot of appreciation going on. And then also talked about appreciating Harvest's loyalty and respecting their fighting prowess, not being so wild about lack of discipline and control. I have to say that these beliefs, and then Rowan. Also, I started out by not trusting Rowan. Venner has substantially altered his opinion of both Harvest and Rowan over time, mostly by Harvest being even more effective than Venner thought Harvest was going to be, and that was a pretty considerable amount. So Harvest, basically at this point, I'm just like, I don't even care if there's a lack of discipline. Like, Harvest can just take out people's torsos. Like, I mean, it's really like, so there's that. And then Rowan, I actually have come to learn to trust based upon information against my better judgment that Rowan has been able to show me stuff that matches with my own military understanding. So I don't know I guess I would argue that in a way my beliefs are altering, and I feel like I'm being consistent with the changing of the beliefs, but they're not the same as when we began as far as Rowan and Harvest are concerned. As far as the claimant and appreciating the claimant and claiming vengeance, yes, I believe that, but it didn't necessarily get played out in here.
Yeah, I think you're welcome to adjust those beliefs.
Yeah, I may do that.
I think the thing that I would suggest is, what is a phrasing of the belief that is interesting for you as a player to chew on through play?
Yeah, I mean,
with that character,
the ability to restore honor in more than one axis is really the way to put that. So it doesn't all have to be done on the field.
Okay.
And then and the drive was just restoring my honor by defeating Maedoc in military combat. And I will just say there was a lot of resonance for me in the joust and the attempt to restore my honor by taking out Man Mountain. So I would put in a pitch for an XP with that. For the drive.
So yeah, I think at least one there. A second one if you think there's a good moment from the last session, and then I think we are caught up.
Okay, good. No, I think I'm good.
And that note about revising beliefs can apply to everybody. So while we're doing downtime with other characters, if you would like to review your beliefs and update them, if it's going to be useful for you in terms of having those like a prompt or a lens through which to express your character's relationship to parts of the fiction or other characters, then we can definitely make space for that.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So next I would do Reckoning. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to get to before we do that?
Don't think so.
Cool. Okay. So when you succeed a gain status objective, you will get income equal to the target's tier, which is 2. So you would gain 2 coin. And you would get +1 or +2 status with that faction. So I think the way that I did it was that you got +1 status with Ciaran, but then Ciaran's status with Drostan's Raiders also got better by 1. You started to normalize relations there. So I'm going to make sure that that is applied. You now have 4 coin. You can kind of hold 6 without having to like secure additional like a bank situation. And then I'm going to go to Sigane. Sigane goes from +1 to +2. And and I know that Droston's Raiders is less in trouble with them. I have put House Gearr on the faction status list since you've met Rob, and House Gearr is basically Rob, his beleaguered squire, and like maybe 1 or 2 people that are still loyal to him. So
Where does all this live?
so this is on the domain sheet, which I believe everyone can look at.
Yeah. Under handouts, domain is there.
Yeah, but it's just like a blank sheet.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. That's all I can see is just blank
let's
sheet.
see.
So
But
description.
underneath it though, there's a series of text things, Alex.
Yeah, description.
Oh, okay.
Description and notes is where I've been putting everything.
Okay.
I feel like under house, for Rob, you look small but agile, right? I mean, like agile, capable of adjusting on the fly.
So we've done that, and you also get renown. So renown notes how much you earn for the sortie. You earn 2 renown per sortie, +1 if the target was a higher tier. They're tier 2 and you're tier 1, so that's 3 renown at least. +1 renown if the target was a member of House Lolaire. They're not. +1 renown per tier of any new vassals. I'm going to say +1 renown because it was literally a tournament.
+1 renown for tournament. That's not bad. 8 out of 12 renown right now, y'all.
Yes.
That's what we're talking
So
about.
if you get to 12 renown, you will go up a tier if you spend the money to do so, which I think it would be 8 coin to go up to tier 2.
We can only have 6.
I think if you get the coin, you can spend it, but you can't hold more than 6 per past like a downtime is maybe the way to do that. So yeah, you're definitely getting up there in renown. I would also say some long-term projects might be able to give you renown if you really wanted to kind of try to round that out. But you also will get unrest. So because this was a tournament, I think it's fairly low unrest.
I didn't actually kill anyone.
Right. So no wraiths were made and not put to rest, which is very good. I think I want to split the difference between 0 and 2 and then add 1 more because you targeted a higher tier faction / because word is now getting out. So I would say that adds 2 unrest. Does that sound all right?
And we did, completely humiliate the representative of House Tarb, which is...
I mean,
we shit on him twice. Like 2 people lined up to do it.
We
Very
instructed
humiliating.
them twice.
But one of their scions did get to win the joust. So it was not a complete embarrassment for the house on that day.
Which is all part of my plan,
Which is
of course.
probably
to lose
good for
right
y'all.
time.
I see.
That means that y'all are at 6 unrest out of 9. Unfortunately, that means that your entanglement will roll on the bad chart.
Oh no!
Oh man,
Nice.
the bad
Cool.
chart.
Pleasant.
So
I love that.
Can you tell us what's on the chart before we roll?
I know, right?
Absolutely. So you're going to roll 2 dice and take the lower, so that's good.
Great. Oh,
Good.
that's good.
They say.
That's
Yes,
the good part.
Because 1 to 3 is riots break out in a holding, putting a source of solace at risk. A PC loses access to their solace until riots are dealt with. That's still pretty bad, but it gets worse.
I love the fact that our seat of power, by the way, is, quote, on this sheet, a cabin in the woods. So I have this image of the riot is just people running around the cabin and being like, this is not how to start a kingdom. I don't...
4 or 5 is Imperial troops occupy one of your holdings to repress revolt.
Oh, God,
you cannot
that's
use
great.
the bonus or levies provided from this holding until peace are restored.
No, the Empress is gonna occupy my fucking cabin in the woods.
Well, so you do have a holding. Through Droston, you have the bandit hideout. And on a 6,
we're very small little potatoes, aren't we?
on a 6, which you really don't want, one of your holdings enters full revolt. They become a new faction with a -3 status with you.
Oh,
I think I think what 6 is probably the Sluach take the bandit camp.
Oh man.
I think that's probably more appropriate. So would someone like, can I have someone roll 2 dice? And you will get to take the
Splendour
lower.
do this?
Yes, I feel like we're going to continually make the case that the only person who is entitled to make this roll.
I just wouldn't feel right.
It. God darn it. Nice.
Ooh,
Okay.
I didn't see it.
So that means that
nice.
you will get the 1 to 3 riots break out in a holding, putting a source of solace at risk. I think that.
I mean, you could kind of translate that into Drosten getting boned.
Yeah, I think the thing that comes to mind for me is that there's now too much heat in the town for y'all to just kind of like kick around anonymously. But I'm happy to hear other suggestions if somebody has an idea. Specifically, how do one of you lose access to being able to seek solace in the immediate term?
I mean, my solace is basically laying wraiths to rest. So I don't think I'm really at risk at this point.
So,
yeah, my solace is like partying, which that would definitely take away.
Yeah, I think like unrest in Belheather, as like there's lots of coming and going and people trying to like see if they can see the Splendour or meet one of the tournament champions. But I'm happy, like if somebody else like would like to frame a version that targets them, I'm happy to try to work that out.
What we're saying is that we've got to fight for Harvest's right to party.
I think we should have it target Ciaran's, because the rest of us really need to get rid of some stress.
That's true.
Wow.
I mean, like I could, okay, if you're thinking of it, but more like people are coming in and kind of just bugging us, that could actually interfere with Ciaran, because Ciaran's like, I need to go like sit in a field and meditate, and there's people like, but can I talk to you? And I'm like, no, please go away. I'm trying to meditate.
It could be around the heresy, right? Like we've been making a lot of noise about putting wraiths down, so there could be some kind of reaction to that.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
Are there like are the brothers of the local monastery just like out in force trying to now take over the work that you had been doing to show that it should be them and to like keep you at bay?
That could very well be. I mean, I will note that we have my person on my character sheet who specifically doesn't like me is an acolyte. So
yeah, so I think we'll get a short sequence of the brothers and other members of that local monastery with that's Lilius, right?
Yes.
With Lilius at the head, going out and kind of walking around Belheather and like doing exorcism patrols around parts of the settlement, and they have like sensors and like big symbols of the crossroads, and they bring people with them, and they are like kind of the tug of war over the like spiritual aspect of this revolution. There's a big tug back against your heresy about the small gods. And so I think that we see that, and then we zoom in on their booted feet crunching down and stamping down the grass and the kind of underbrush of the woods around Belheather.
Ooh, now I'm mad.
Okay. So that could have definitely been worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've got that.
We're fine.
It's fine. I'm just going to be even more of a heretic. Fuck you, Lilius.
Heretic harder.
Double heretic.
Yes. Double heresy across the sky.
Heretic with a vengeance. Heretic 2.
Oh, Lord.
So now y'all will get your downtime actions. which is lovely because y'all have a bunch of stress to deal with.
Yes, indeed.
Very good. Oh, right, because I have a double page. I couldn't make this document switch back to one page, so I was like, I'm missing some things. No, it's because I'm missing pages. So again, those downtime activities are acquire an asset, long-term project, muster a levy, quell unrest, recover, which is healing, train, and seek solace, which is reducing stress. So I know that many of y'all are very stressed, but does anyone have an idea of where they would like to start downtime? Things I would like to cover in this session, if we can, is a bit of discussion between Drosten, Ciaran, and Sienna of House Gearr about like what this looks like. And then I would like to get at least one scene, if we can, that's just the four of y'all all together, to get more, to let all these characters have their interpersonal relationships. In last downtime, we had a bit of like 2 people at a time, but that's what I'm interested in seeing. We can make time for other scenes, either connected to downtime or not. So does anyone have something you're excited to do first?
So I know all of my friends are stressed out, so perhaps they should go first, but I'm going to put a pin in, I think what my downtime action is going to be is quelling unrest.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to specifically do that in my heretical way. But that would also be a good opportunity to talk with both Sienna and Drosten, because if we can like put this thing together and start all pulling in the same direction, that'll help the unrest.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm going to go. Everyone else go first.
And Alex, also remember that you have that ability that lets you add ticks to a project as long as it fits certain requirements.
Yes, which I have not exercised.
Yep, so you'll get to apply that this downtime as well. So does anyone have an idea for a solace scene that they would like to do? Greg, I would say for you, Drosten's people and Sienna's people are both available.
I can't find where I put the solace thing on, my particular solace on the sheet, and I don't know where the line is. Maybe that I'm looking at the wrong spot.
So under it's Vice, because we're using the blade sheets.
It is under Vice? Okay.
Yeah, so in the first downtime, you went all the way up to kind of the capital.
No, I remember that. Yeah.
To like try to train or give tips to like a brand new soldier. So
Right.
I would say that there are soldiers of equivalent greenness in both of the factions that you have the stronger relationships with.
So, well, I wanted to pitch something else
Okay.
that's related to it. And I wanted to, because I did that the first time, but I actually wanted to speak to Cranel, my assistant.
Yeah.
And so who cleans the armor and does all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So I would say that I would go and find Cranel. We've returned back to the cabin in the woods, right?
Yeah.
To Drosten's Raiders, the bandit camp.
And this downtime can cover several weeks. I would say somewhere in the territory of 2 to 3 weeks. So we don't have to stack everything up. So yeah, sometime during then we can have a scene with the two of y'all.
So the scene I would pitch is that we would be, Cranel and I are out, as we have often done before, and we are out training, and we are on a plateau. There's a near the forest, basically. Outside of it, there are these sort of gentle rises of hills, he said, because I'm sure that's true. The gentle rises of hills, and at the top of one of them is a plateau, and so Cranel and I are training basically with sword and shield. And so I would say that this particular one is a lot more... I'm driving him much harder than I usually would. I always drive, everyone hard, including Cranel, but like, I'm just, we're just sword and bash and up and around and everything. And finally, I kind of, at one point, sort of, he's very good, obviously, because he's been under this training, but I managed to kind of push him back. And I would say, kind of looking down I'm sweat pouring off my face and like I'm getting too old for this shit kind of thing. And so I go over and I kind of slump down, and I am kind of looking out at we're doing this at the sun. This is probably set 8 in the morning. Let's say the sun has finally come over the horizon. I'm just like, all right, lad, it's enough for now.
So he's like breathing heavy and sanding splinters out of the training swords.
Yeah.
Maybe. And he says, "My lord, I saw you in the joust, and I've heard your stories, and I don't understand what it's like to be in real war, and I know that it's coming, and I'm just afraid that I'm going to freeze, like you say that they sometimes do, that people sometimes do, and I can't let you down, but I don't know how to get that thing that you have and that Harvest has, to be able to stare at death and grin."
Is that what it seems like? Grinning.
The only thing I can think that I would do is scream in terror, so grinning seems like an improvement.
You assume that's not what we're doing when we're grinning, lad.
How?
And I kind of sort of sigh and kind of, I can't speak for Harvest. There was a time when I would have assumed that someone like that lived to cut and slice like a butcher. Now I'm not sure. There's something that motivates them beyond normal endurance. I think maybe Harvest does what they do to avoid looking at what they are when they're not doing it. But that also might just be me. And as for me, lad, it's been a long time since I grinned at anything, really.
Grin or scream or whatever it is, how do you take that fear and forge it into anything that can protect you or protect anyone else?
Come here. He's like sitting at the edge there. And
yeah.
Sit down.
Sits, kind of like tries to sit up and focus, even though like he's very winded.
Yeah. Well, pretty much I'm similar at the moment. So I point out the forest, and you see all the trees down there. And somewhere in all those trees, people that we're responsible for. Does a tree ever ask whether or not it's allowed to grow? If fire hits it, or someone's trying to cut at the bark. You think the tree questions what's in front of it, or does the tree just grow?
The tree grows, but I'm not a tree.
He nods. No. My point is there's things that are what they are. I learned a long time ago that some things can be changed and some things can't. When I was young, your age, I spent most of my time trying to change the things I couldn't. Everything had a recognizable order. Everything had a rhythm and a cadence. And just like a tree has to grow, I had to be who I was. My father told me that I wasn't going to survive without him until I could learn to forget that he existed, that he would be there to save me. I had to manage on my own. I had no choice. It was either that or perish. I look back at him and I say, "What do you remember of your father?"
He was gone much of the time, either with caravans or when he was called to be a levy. And every time he came back with more gray hair and with more fear in his eyes. Fear and silence.
Fear and silence. I remember when I first saw your father fighting in battle. And I thought, this is someone who fights for someone other than himself. You can tell the difference. Those who fight because they have to prove something to themselves, and those who fight because they have to, not because they want to. I don't think your father wanted to fight, but he wanted to protect those he cared about.
And now we have to fight, other they'll just kill us and everyone we love. But I don't want to just be the first broken shield when the waves of battle crash together.
You won't be, and I'll tell you why. On the last levee your father went off to, when he told you and your mother that he was going to be away for quite some time, he stood against the Splendour's family. He rebelled, Crano. I was sent to deal with him. My men wiped out his sortie. I could never understand why. Your father was a good warrior, but his heart didn't seem to be in it. And when he was the only one left on the field, I went out to meet him myself. I asked him why he was fighting. He said he was fighting for you. And then, because it is what I had been ordered to do, I killed him, Crano. I've never told you that story, nor anyone else, because although I was told to do it, I remained ashamed of it. It was not the way I should have conducted my honor or myself, no matter what the orders were. And the reason I'm telling you this now is not so that you'll hate me, although if you do, I would understand. I'm telling you because I've trained you ever since, both for your sake and for your father's. And maybe God's take me, my own guilt. You won't break on the first wave, or the second, or the third, because there is no better trained warrior in the realms. And because unlike me, you don't have a guilt to weigh you down. You're better than I am, Crano. Hold on to that. If your training fails you, your soul won't.
that seems like a good place to make your roll to see how much stress that unburdening relieves.
Okay, so this is under. This is not indulge vice though, is it, or is it?
You can use the indulge vice button and it should work. You'll roll 1 die because with both insight and resolve, you have only 1 action.
Okay.
And so the more well-rounded you are, the easier it is.
I'll take a stress to get it. No, just kidding. Okay. So 1 die.
And because I would like y'all to have some stuff in the tank for next time, I'm going to go ahead and give you plus 1d for good RP and for giving yourself more things to be guilty about that we had not even discussed already by being like, oh, right, my most loyal dude. Yeah, I killed his dad.
That's what motivates him and has for a long time. Okay, so I have 1 bonus die.
Yes, so you'll get to roll 2 dice. You can use a fortune roll if Indulge Vice doesn't let you have a bonus.
It looks like it does. So,
okay.
Okay, so it should be rolling 2.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So you'll get 2
and
2 stress back. You can do Seek Solace again when we come back around, but that takes you to, what, 5 stress?
Yes, 5 stress.
Okay. I've seen characters in worse shape at the start of a mission. And okay. I will say that because so much time is passing, I think all of the level 1 harm that you have will fade.
Okay. Until he pushes me off the goddamn plateau and to my death.
And then for Harvest, I'm gonna I'm probably gonna have recovery be a bit more generous.
Okay. I was thinking of doing recovery next, so that would level 2 harm.
Just before you jump over to Harvest, can I ask under harm? I have listed under less effect, disheartened and tired. Is that did I put that in there? I guess, and so that's now removed. If I'm understanding that.
Yeah.
properly.
So you took disheartened when your horse couldn't
I remember.
keep going, and then tired from, I think, just jousting more. So both of those level 1 harms will go away.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Especially because we've described them as very fleeting. So I think that makes sense. But yeah, DongWon, we can come around to Harvest and kind of trying to deal with those ribs.
Yeah, I don't know if this needs to be a whole scene or how you want to handle it, but
yeah, I think between House Gearr and Drostan's Raiders, you've got access to some sort of physician.
Okay.
So I think you would roll with your tier plus 1d in recovery.
So that is, we're tier 0?
The retinue is tier 1, so you'd roll 2 dice.
Okay. Roll 2d6. I got 2 6s.
Okay, so 2 6s is a crit, which means you you'll kind of fill a 4 clock for recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So your cracked ribs go down to bruised ribs.
Okay.
In 1 roll, and then you'll fill 1 tick in a clock that would remove that harm entirely.
Okay.
So if you did another recovery roll, there'd be a decent chance that you get rid of that entirely. Otherwise, if you go into the next sortie with the bruised ribs, you'd get reduced effect only on rolls where that was relevant.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Alex or Brandon, do you have an idea for a first downtime action?
I do, but I want to ask a question first to clarify.
Sure.
What has happened since we left the tournament? What do we know about what happened while we were gone?
Yeah, so I think Keely would arrive at the cabin that night or maybe the next morning with notice that the Drostans that the Raiders had been attacked, and that they spent the night trying to shake the tail and that they need to lie low because as best they can tell, the Sluagh are still out there in those woods looking for them.
So do they let us know in no uncertain terms that they are confident that they were attacked by the Sluagh?
I think that either Drostin or somebody else in that group would have enough experience and history operating as an outlaw in Crobhan to recognize at least one member of the Sluagh, unless you think that they would maintain their anonymity really that intensely. Because we did discuss that there was a specific coat that identifies a member of the Sluagh, and I think this group would have been wearing them.
Okay, cool. I am curious about starting a long-term project.
Great. What's the project?
Sluagh 2, the Sluaghening.
Because part of me is like, so the reason why I asked those questions in particular is because part of me is like, even if I don't know anything, even if the amount of information that Rowan knows is very small, a part of Rowan is like, if the Sluagh made a move, that meant Katrina made a move. And that just makes me mad.
Sure.
So I think I want to track Katrina.
Okay. I think to determine the size of this clock, let's be really specific about what happens when the clock is filled.
Right. I want to find Katrina alone.
Okay.
And do terrible things. I want to make terrible decisions.
Okay, so this is when the clock is filled, you have ambushed Katrina.
Yes.
Okay. I think to make it viable to happen, I'm going to say that this is a 4 o'clock because you will have the assistance from some people in the Raiders if you want it.
I do. Keely was there when all of this happened, right?
So Keely was watching Aiden, was kind of keeping guard on Aiden at the bandit hideout, but would have heard about what happened through the rest of the Raiders. Right.
Because part of me is like, I want to roll up with somebody, and it's either Keely because we know each other, and I imagine that Keely being young and impressionable will be like, this is my family. I want to risk my very young and impressionable life to prove that these people are my family. Or I will get an older person who was actually in the struggle and probably has like actual beef.
Sure.
But I'm leaning towards Keely because Keely is rad.
Okay. Yeah, and I think especially in a miniseries, using the characters that we've introduced and think are cool makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm. So I imagine that conversation is literally just like some manner of hours after the initial conversation that reveals to us that the Sluagh ambushed them in the middle of the night passing through the forest. I just meet Keely after dinner, like in a side room and go, hey, do you want to make a mess of things? And we just decide, yeah, we're gonna jump Katrina at some point.
Okay. So what action are you using to pursue this clock?
Right. So I feel like there's an obvious answer.
Hunt would make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, hunt.
Okay.
In which I have 2 dots.
Cool. So you'll get +1d because you have help. And this is also sort of me abstracting the fact that Drostin's Raiders gives you +1 dice to, I think, infiltration jobs. So it's like, right, you've got bandits. They help do bandit things.
Mm-hmm. So that's okay. Is this a fortune roll or
it is
pure action roll?
It is a fortune roll, and you'll roll 3 dice, 2 from your hunt, and +1.
Okay.
I would say you can push, but you haven't reduced your stress yet, so that would probably be unwise.
Nah, I can't. Nope. Nope. What does the devil have to say?
Oh boy. You really want to open that door, huh?
Just tell the devil no, can't I?
So I think the devil's bargain is if you take the die, no matter anything else, when you ambush Katrina, she will have one other person with her. But you would get the bonus die here.
Now, one person is a lot. We haven't actually fought Katrina yet, so I actually don't know what tier Katrina is as a threat on her own. So I'm just not going to do the thing.
I think
3 dice.
I think you would know that the Sloach writ large are a tier 2 faction, tier 3 kind of at their heyday.
Mm-hmm.
So Katrina running a splinter group is probably tier 1.
Nah, I'll take the risk with the 3 dice.
Okay.
Thank you, devil, but not today.
I'll get you next time.
And submit.
Yeah.
Notes. Nah, just not gonna put anything in the notes section. I would have shown off, but I won't. 2, 4, 4.
Okay, so that means that you fill 2 of the 4 clocks, and you are halfway there. So, what does that look like in like some kind of montage? Just a brief view of the effort.
I think in a very like Guy Ritchie, Robin Hood-esque kind of montage, we cut straight from me talking to Keely immediately to both of us in cloaks of concealment at a tavern some manner of towns away. Just like sitting in these cloaks of concealment are so good, we're sitting in the middle of the tavern. Just looking all around, and we like watch as Katrina and I want to say like 2 other Sloach members around the same age, like mid-20s-ish, enter, conduct their idle business, and leave.
So Brandon, I'm going to be mean to you, but not that mean.
Oh boy. I'm
sure what you mean by not that mean is actually terribly hurtful.
So I have a loaded gun pointed at your character from a devil's bargain you took earlier.
This is true.
That says,
can you remind me what that was again?
So Roz told you that as part of like the price of those cloaks, at some point when you wish to stay concealed, you will instead be revealed.
Nice, cool. Why did I decide?
And so I'm going to let you do your Seek Solace temporally before this happens. And then I'm going to flash back to Katrina scanning the room and locking eyes with you because you're no longer invisible. So anyway, Alex, what's your first action?
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Well, crap.
So I know one of the things I want to work on is quelling unrest.
Uh-huh.
I've only got 2 stress, so I can probably hold off dealing with that. Gosh. Let's tell you what, I need to think more about what else I could work on. So let's do the quelling unrest.
Yep. So is this, do you want to do the version that is working things out between Drosten and Sienna, or do you have another idea?
I mean, so actually, I guess, is it possible to just quell unrest twice? Because I have 2 different ideas.
Absolutely.
Okay, because I need to work out with, get together and have a drink with Sienna and Drosten. But if you'd like to save that to the end, we can. And my other quelling unrest is going to be basically fuck Lilius, I'm gonna go and work against what that little shit is doing.
Okay, cool. Are you going to bring anybody with you?
They're all really stressed out, so no. I'm going to instead stress them out by going and doing something by myself. That'll help their stress levels.
Oh, yeah, that'll be great.
Awesome.
Awesome, wow.
That'll be great. That'll be wonderful.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh,
Has anyone seen the Splendor? No. We're like, what do you mean no?
I mean,
three monks walk through town like chanting.
Oh man.
I mean, I suppose if it would give my party too many heart palpitations, before I'm leaving to go fuck with the church, I will in fact pause and announce, "Bye guys, I'm leaving to go fuck with the church. See you tonight. Don't wait up."
So what does that sound like when filtered through Ciaran Noble speak?
That's true. I wouldn't say something so rude. I just say,
I think it could be plainly said, but I don't know that it would be that plainly said. That's up to you.
I think it would be more along the lines of, I'm going out to deal with the work of mine that's being undone. I will see you later.
Okay. So what specifically?
If anyone wants to insist to come with me, let me know.
Are any of us so do you just announce this in the bandit camp? You're like, and I'm out. How many of us hear this? Is
up to you.
Okay. I mean, is this happening simultaneous with Rowan about to get destroyed in the middle of a tavern, or me up on a plateau? Where are we?
If you would like to be there, you can be there.
Exactly. The option is there. If you don't want to deal with it, then you cannot be there.
I think my thought about this would be, I don't know what Harvest and Rowan think, but I think actually that it makes sense to me that Ciaran does sort of, because of being so pissed off about this, go off, and that probably is going to piss us off when we find out that that's what Ciaran did. But I don't know. That sounds like the hell with this. I'm doing this on my own, and I'm gonna undo this situation, and I'm gonna F with the church. I imagine that our reaction to that would be, what did you just do? Especially Venner is gonna do that. But
you're gonna what?
Yeah.
I have an instinct to sort of split the difference there, which is I think Harvest sees Ciaran leaving from the medical tent as they're getting their ribs wrapped, basically, and then just sort of hobbles after them, shirtless and with their sword just wrapped in bandages.
Okay.
Oh,
it's basically following them from a distance to see where they're going.
Okay.
I mean, fair. Just to make sure I don't get in too much trouble as I go to fuck with the church.
Sure. So does this look much like putting wraiths to rest last downtime?
Yes, but basically I'm going to be doing it in a more pointed, where people can see me way, to be like, look, I'm doing the thing, and I'm not being a dick like the church. I'm just doing it because it's right, and you can too.
Yeah, because we established last downtime that putting some of the wraiths to rest roused up others, and I think the church doing that would just continue. So you could absolutely find a wraith within eyeshot from kind of the outskirts of the town, someone that died kind of in one of the closest farms or something. So you could have at least a few people watching as you do this.
Yep. And I'll do kind of like I was doing before, where it's sort of if I can find out what their name is, I'll find that out, and I'll just talk to them and tell them to go to sleep, and all of my beautiful heretical stuff.
Okay. So yeah, why don't you roll, and then I think the better you roll, the more effective this will be, both in putting the wraith to rest very easily and competently, but also how much it impacts and gets around.
All right, what am I rolling? Just pray or?
You get to pick the action. Pray seems like it's going to be the most relevant here.
Yes. All right, what's my position?
This is since this is downtime, it will just be a fortune roll.
Okay, cool.
So you will not take a consequence here.
All right. And the effect is standard, I guess, or 0, or would it?
Yeah, so on downtime, you don't need to take effect.
Okay.
Because
I just clicked on sway, so I'm doing what it wants for input values.
Okay.
No bonus dice.
Just give me a scroll here. Okay, a 1 and a 5. So a 5 will reduce unrest by 2 ticks. So that will take you back to 4 rather than 6, which is much less scary. And I think if it's okay with you, I would split the difference where you do a good job, but not too many people are watching, and the members of the monastery are really visible. So it's going to take more to kind of to win that tug of war.
That's fine.
For public opinion.
I mean, is this something that I could kind of make a clock for?
We could do another clock for that. If the clock is specifically like the propaganda war, and then absolutely.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah. So you can make a clock that I think we will call, or what would you like to call it?
Can I call it the fuck the church clock?
Sure. So
your first attempt was just public access, like it's just a couple of people watching, and it was like, oh, this is amazing, but it's you have like not very big wattage. Station doesn't go very far.
I mean, I'm testing with focus groups.
Yeah, but you're starting out small, and that's it.
Yeah, so I think this is a 6 clock, and when the clock is full, you will have shown to the people in the province that you and your retinue's way of dealing with wraiths is more effective. So
excellent.
That will take quite a bit of doing, but you can get going. You could absolutely put your two ticks from that ability into this, and then we can come back around and do more actions. You can spend coin to get additional downtime actions. Should that be something you wanted to work on?
I will hold on to my two ticks for now, just in case somebody else has a clock that is more important.
Sure.
My war with the church is a very private war.
Yeah, I've also put a clock on the board that is Sigane/Drosten status normalized, which is a 6 clock.
Okay.
To let you know kind of how much work that will take.
That might be more important, as angry as I am about everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So that is that. So we're at 10:06. I think let's do 1 or 2 more downtime actions, and then I'd like to take a quick break. Does anyone have an idea for a second action that they would like to take?
I have an idea for a downtime action that is in the drive it like a stolen car model of role playing here.
I'm very excited to hear what that is.
Wow, that's the best model.
I don't think I'm gonna work on clearing my stress this session, and we'll see what happens in the next mission.
Okay.
Instead, I want to start a clock to increase the retinue's renown.
Okay.
As a long-term project. And specifically, the way I would like to do that is, having just famously won this big tournament, I'm going to go around and do a bunch of exhibition matches in various towns throughout the area.
Oh, cool.
So I'd like to use my skirmish rating to advance a clock to increase our renown as sort of local heroes, great warriors, etc., etc.
Yeah. This
basically, I'm turning into a professional wrestler. Is what's happening.
Right. Because this is
makes sense, and that's fine. We can
because this is a mini series, I'm inclined to pitch it this way, and let me know what you think. what if we use the downtime result tables and you just add your results to your renown? So if you got a 4 or 5, you would add 2 ticks of renown.
Okay,
And
great.
that way it doesn't have to be a clock.
Yeah.
This ends up making this very powerful, but I'm fine with that.
Great, let's do it. All right, so I will roll a skirmish.
Sure thing.
Does anyone want to come with me on this ridiculousness?
Yeah, just like someone serve as the barker.
I will come along. I'm into this. Even
Cool.
if Ciaran is kind of like, are you sure you don't need to calm down a little bit?
Hey,
But okay,
Benner,
well.
can I borrow your little manservant there?
Cranel, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose for what?
Sparring.
Well, all right. You're not
Great,
allowed to.
thanks. And I just grab Cranel's arm while you're talking and start pulling him off. And I hand him sort of a mask to wear. And I say, all right, when I come at you, duck. And then I'm going to trip you and you're going to go down hard. Okay?
So as you're saying this the way out, I'm like, don't harm him. I've only got one harvest, for the love of.
So you are like basically setting the booking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
He's the Iron Mike
setting-
Sharp of this is what's happening.
Yeah. So Cranel is the jobber. I got it. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a sophisticated narrative we're putting up here.
Sure.
You know, this is just, I'm going to dress him up like the Man Mountain is what I'm going to do.
Okay. He's nowhere near as big. He's probably smaller than you are. But you can
there's just
you
like
can
a
just
lot
have
of,
like a big
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fake
There's a lot of,
inflatable
like,
biceps and everything.
Inflated or like padding there. And
do we have costuming last time by Ciaran? Is that who's the costumer of this group? Am I remembering correctly?
I thought it was I did a bit of costume, but I want to say Rowan mostly did it because he's the sneaky one.
I could
Or
see
either the sneaky one.
So I remember we made the argument that, we made the argument that Ciaran had watched a lot of theater.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I mean,
yeah.
I can
That's
totally
true.
like
That's
I can
true.
do it. I mean, what is it? What's the?
I remember being not pleased about having to do any of that.
I think
being like, ugh.
you won't need to roll, but if one of the other PCs helps, then I would give a +1d.
I'll help. I'll think it's really fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
DongWon, if you want to roll your skirmish +1d,
Okay.
and we'll take this result level and add it to your renown.
That is a 6.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, I think 2 things really help here. One is that Ciaran is already a notable person and can talk things up. And second is that Cranel is a very competent fighter, as established.
Yeah, he is.
And so I think what you see is Cranel is representative of traditional knightly combat skills in this kingdom. But harvest is a phenomenon. And so it's impactful because people who understand how combat works can see that Cranel is not a chump.
Yeah.
And that I think you are able to work together effectively enough that you sell the lie. That not very much of it is quote unquote faked.
And I want to add one last detail in there, which is, in the actual fight, in sort of that final moment going up the mountain dude, there was like that little religious moment of prayer in the middle of it, and that is worked narratively into the act.
Oh, okay. So you're getting some propaganda in there as
Some
well.
propaganda in there too, which
Love it.
I don't think necessarily needs to play in mechanically, but narratively, I want that to be there. It's a thing that Harvest is really going all in on incorporating into their worldview.
He's leading up
Yeah,
to the
I would
remember the splendor finishing move. Here it comes.
So that would let you take renown to 11 of 12. I
Great.
would say that if you'd like, you could put one or more of those ticks into the propaganda clock instead, if you'd like.
Where's the propaganda clock at?
So that is, it should be on the clocks page. That's the kind of our, I will move everybody to projects.
There we go.
Which clock is which?
Yeah, these are unlabeled for me.
Let
So
me
the
see.
Labels layer may not be.
Yeah, I will. So, okay.
I see there's my fuck the church clock.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna change the settings here to make sure that they're controlled by everybody, and maybe that makes them visible.
Yep, that does seem to be doing that because now I can see Ambush Katrina and.
Yep. So
Nice.
if
Okay.
I can put the ticks on if you'd like. So how do you want to split that up, DongWon?
Wait, which one's the propaganda clock? The fuck the church clock?
Fuck the church, yeah.
Yeah.
And that clock is empty at this point, or
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, do we not get to know what the fourth clock is?
And a mystery clock.
Oh, so that's from last time. That is
okay.
Ire of the Avon's Archers, which Rowan was drawing. So I'm just going to keep that clock there.
Okay.
Oh,
So I'm gonna put two
Great.
ticks into renown, and that means that if we succeed at our next mission, then we'll max out renown, and then we can upgrade at that point to the next
Okay.
tier, and then one tick and fuck the church.
Cool. I will make that edit here to your renown. So you are at 10 of 12.
Great.
And that clock has begun. Cool. Yeah, so I think you'll do that at Bell Heather and then at the Southern Markets.
Okay.
Are the two biggest settlements. And I want to add a detail to the show that you do in the Southern Markets, which is that the Southern Markets feels like a more chaotic, more like the stereotype of a Western town where it's like, oh, like things are really unruly here and it doesn't necessarily seem like anyone's in charge. It's a very market and trade focused settlement, but the leadership here is just a merchant who tries to keep everybody in order. There is not a direct noble control over this settlement. And I think like drinking at a tavern in the Southern Markets after your performance, you will, the two of you would hear some scuttlebutt that would let you come to understand that the Southern Markets is more or less, quote unquote, ruled by a merchant who goes by the pseudonym Ledger.
Okay.
And claims to be the seneschal of the Southern Markets.
Okay. Cool.
So that's a little bit of information for you there that I was hoping to get out because it helps round out the province. So that is that.
You said him going by the moniker of Ledger. Is it known who he is, or is it just is his identity? Or
so yeah, I think people would know Ledger by sight.
Okay.
So my face cast for Ledger is Kara G, who plays drummer in The Expanse.
Hell yeah.
So like a fairly fair woman with like just past shoulder length black hair. I think hers is always up in a fairly uncomplicated fashion, but she has very fancy clothing that is like not so much ostentatious as like, yeah, I'm rich. So it's like, it's the $500 t-shirt rich instead of like brocades on brocades rich.
She doesn't come to one of the shows, does she?
No, I don't think so. But I think you probably find out that there's a good chance that word about what you've done would have gotten back to her. And I think, Ciaran, to your recollection, Ledger was not a major factor in trade when you were Splendour. So her ascent here seems to be more recent.
Making a note.
Yep. So that gives you a bit more intel on those folks down there, because as a reminder, To control the sedge lands, you will need to have 2 or more holdings of the 3 holdings. So you have Drostan's kind of camp. That house is a holding. Bell Heather is a holding controlled by Sienna Sagain and House Sagain. And then the Southern Markets is controlled by Ledger. So if you vassalize Sienna, you would have 2. Or if you take the Southern Markets in some fashion. Does anyone have another downtime action they'd like to do before we take a quick break?
I mean, my second one might be quick,
Okay.
Like in that I was thinking of after this conversation with Cranel, I was thinking of either myself or going with him to making our way up to the battlefield where his father was slain, and just to sort of kind of essentially pay respects by being there with him. I know that you cut away before we got Cranel's reaction, but I you know, and also it's very clear that Venner is not looking. I mean, if Cranel decides that Cranel would like to forgive Venner, that's fine, but that's not what Venner's aiming for. Venner literally was trying to, because of what he's been through and what he's been experiencing, is trying to make it so that Cranel will not break in the face of pressure, and it's one of the reasons that he told him that story, to suggest that he is, you know, able to manage it. So the battlefield is kind of a way of providing full closure, and, you know, we don't have to RP that out if you don't want, but I do think that's where we would probably go. If I'm taking a risk by going to that battlefield under the circumstances, I'll take the hit on whatever I need to do there, but that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think you can do that without it causing a massive problem. And I think Cranel, like, do you think that, or how do you think the bodies of like that mini rebellion were handled?
I think it was snuffed out. I think that it was actually, Cranel is probably shocked to have heard that there even was a mini rebellion. It never got much traction, and his father basically did it for reasons I won't get into now. So yeah.
Where are they interred? Where are they buried? Would they have been taken to like the nearby settlement?
No. I think what happened was that Venner insisted at some personal cost, because they didn't want to do this, because they were like, you know, you're going to put down this rebellion and we're not going to talk about it again. He said, fine, but I'm going to bury these people as soldiers because it's that they were. And he basically threatened to quit. And it was at a time when Maedoc wasn't so much of a dick he thought he could do that or whatever. Okay. And so, yeah, I would say that right near that original battlefield is where they were interred, sort of, but only Venner knows where that is, because, you know, it was a secret burial, but it was done with honors and everything. Okay.
And one more question. What do you think is like the soldier's flower? Either like worn for luck or planted on graves, or like left on graves. Or some other token.
I'm so tempted to say poppy, but no. Well, I don't know what the equivalent of this is in this world, but I would say a tiger lily. Strong, seasonal, of the summer, sort of vibrant and vigorous, of the kind that you would want a soldier to be. And tiger lilies have an interesting experience where when you cut them, they will come back unless you pull them out by root and branch.
Okay. So I think...
these happen to be my favorite flower also, IRL, but that,
cool.
Whatever.
So yeah, I think you take Cranel there and kind of give him the details that you've laid out for me in terms of like what you did to kind of make sure that their memory and bodies were respected. And you see that there is a stand of tiger lilies that grows kind of in patches across the graves of the, you know, dozen-ish people that were a part of this the kind of peasant/veterans rebellion. And Cranel asks for like a moment to himself. And when he comes back, you see that there is a tiger lily pinned to his cloak that he has cut from kind of the ground at the grave of his father. and he says, "Thank you for bringing me here. I don't know his reasons to do what he did, but I know what I need to do in this kingdom to ensure that Maedoc doesn't do to everyone what he did to us in that port battle. Let's get home and let's get to work."
And I nod, and when he turns and goes away, I sort of take a moment and go back to the tiger lilies, and I cut 4 more, or pick 4 more, and one of them I affix to my own, cape around the whatever it is around the armor, and the other 3 I keep for the way back home.
Cool. Would you like to give me another Seek Solace roll?
I sure would. Okay, so I shall seek solace at this place. Okay, so just and again, this is 0 dice here, so just like the 1.
So for Seek Solace, you would roll 1 die because you have at least 1 point in every attribute.
Right. Okay.
So
All right.
you'll take 1 die and hope for
Come on,
5.
5 or 6.
Well, because if you get a 6, you would overindulge. So 2 more. So that takes you down to, I think, 3 stress.
Yeah, it's certainly better than... That's true. I keep thinking of it as not a success. Okay, that's true. Well, that could have been worse. Again, this whole session has been, it could be worse. So, 3 stress,
so,
not bad.
We are at, 10:24. So I think let's take just a 4 or 5 minute break. Get up, stretch, use the restroom, refill your drinks, so on and so forth. And then we'll come back with a bit more downtime and a couple of scenes of Splendor and Shadow. Thanks for everybody who's watching. Please stay tuned after your own break for more fun.
Back in a bit. Hang tight, folks. Okay, we are back. Welcome everybody who is here. Good to see you, Rakad, and Crit Twitch and Lone Wolf, and everyone who came, Prince Justin, everyone who came in while we were hanging out since we've actually gotten started. It's good to see you all, and the cameras that you see are completely accurate and in no way reflect any of us having changed. There has not been a coup that removed Mike and placed Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon got fed up with my bullshit.
Yeah, Brandon was like, you know what? Listen, here's how you do Blades in the Dark. Okay, stuff. All right, let me tell you.
I mean, I would,
but I don't think it would work.
I mean, I could make up a character if you just want to take over,
like a massive crossover. Like suddenly there's just some like multiverse Case the Cindered Seal. Rebel Crown
Chancellor
crossover.
playbook looks really cool.
Yeah. No, it'll be just great. Everyone's like, I was hoping for some ad lib. Anyway, we are back. It's a pleasure to have everyone with us for day 5 of Rebel Crown with Mike Underwood as GM. Mike, you're up.
Okay, cool. So I think we have Rowan has a downtime action and Ciaran has a downtime action. Is that correct?
I know I still have one, yes.
Yeah.
I still have, I'm specifically going to do Solace. But
Sure.
yes. I kind of want to wait because I know that shenanigans are about to happen and I just want to roll into the shenanigans.
My inclination is to roll back into that scene with Katrina after we do your Seek Solace, if that's okay.
Okay. Right. Which means that I need to figure out when I wrote this poem because my solace is just writing. Which I did. I actually did write another thing. And in my head, I thought that was happening while we were waiting at the tavern.
I think if you're writing it at the tavern, I'm fine to have that stress reduction apply, even if you maybe finish it later. If that helps the timing or whatever.
I mean, either way, I mean, the poem is finished. So.
Okay. Yeah. This is a cool benefit of this type of game is that I'll just get to sit back and enjoy some poetry.
Yes, I did this just for y'all. So here's a thing that I wrote while I guess Rowan is like waiting to see whenever Katrina actually arrives in this tavern. The crack of steel and oak that built the testing grounds that gather penance close. The tearing bolts that rend at guilt and hardy soldiers' love of bonding blows. The flowing flags that flow and wilt on wind that travels on the paths of crows and hawks and gods. Some heathen built, some sturdier than all the rants of foes. The patient nod at favor's tilt as shifting kingdom beds grow in repose. The soldiers also clash and tilt as oaken jousting lances blush as rose. We lean against, we rush, we tilt the bastard uncle through with truth's arrows, tearing the cloths with which they tilt, the tragic bodies writhing to expose.
Very cool. So you'll take +1d on your Seek Solace roll for writing poetry.
Is that really a thing that's about to happen?
Page 95.
It applies for at least this Seek Solace roll.
Okay. Right. So my lowest is resolve, which is 1.
So you would get +1d on the Indulge Vice roll, or you can just do a Fortune roll, whatever you would like.
Right. There's actually a Vice thingy here already that I can't see all of a sudden. Right. I do see you. Right. 2 dice. Did a thing just happen?
I see a roll.
But I see 3 dice.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. But the 4 and the 5 are the same result, so I'm fine to, or what I would say is let's take the first 2 dice. So you would get to recover 4 stress.
Okay.
that leaves you with 4. Is that right?
Yes, I
Okay.
still have 4.
That's not too bad.
If you say so. I'd like to have no stress, but I can't do anything about that. Can't get 8 on a 6-sided die.
Right. You could, y'all can spend coin to get more downtime actions.
I'm very much tempted. But we don't have coin. All of that coin is stored elsewhere, waiting for us to essentially become a higher tier crew.
Well, I would say if somebody wants to take extra actions, then it is probably just a question of whatever discussion is involved in, I would like to take some of the coin from the Revolution's coffers to do X. However that would be managed.
In any case, if I were to take another downtime action after this one, it would be after things happen, because I would want to also like actively be around people and have some discussion before doing another thing.
Okay. So if it's all right, I think we return to this scene and we see kind of Rowan working on the poem and maybe talking with Keeley. And if this were a TV show, we would have like the first shot would be like kind of Rowan and Keeley watching the tavern, and kind of the, you know, there's all the chatter, and maybe somebody's like kind of doing a mediocre job playing some instrument, and there's drinking and dicing and gossip and such. And the camera goes around and we see that Rowan and Keeley are not being seen. And then I think we go around again, you know, and this time Katrina and, you know, a couple of Slua are at another table. And when we get around to Katrina's point of view, the camera passes behind her, and now Rowan is visible. And when it gets back around to Rowan, we're basically Rowan's POV as Katrina makes eye contact. And I have a question for you, Brandon, which is, Katrina was your rival even before this ambush. What happened between the two of you? Did we already establish that at some point?
I do not think we have. And the thing is, I'm inclined to think, especially because I'm now on the outs with the Sloach as well, I believe like the real sticking point between Katrina and I really like, I want to play off a certain kind of energy that I picked up from a TV show that I recently started watching called Kung Fu, which is really good and you should watch it.
Oh yeah.
I am not sponsored by the CW. But essentially, the conflict that Rowan and Katrina have is that we disagreed on a decision that was made a long time ago as members of the Sloach. But one of those, like both of those decisions are bad in that I still have to like atone for the consequences of what I thought was right. But Katrina has to atone for the fact that her decision, regardless of whether it is in fact good or just, is mostly powered by vengeance now.
Okay, so this is something, a split on something that happened that the two of you did, or that you kind of did different things on?
What I do think, like what I think actually happened was we had to make a call about a mission that only we were involved in.
Okay.
And the winning decision was ultimately mine. And we still disagree about what the decision was. But the decision was still bad. On the level of murdering the heir to the throne's father, bad.
Okay. So I think you recognize that Katrina sees you, and she gets up slowly and is going to make her way to you unless you get out of the way.
I have reflexes.
It's true. So you will get to act before she can get to you. She is walking. She does not seem to be attacking. At least not yet.
I am going to. What am I going to? I am going to throw a knife at one of her compatriots.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's about to escalate quickly.
Starting some shit.
Like,
yeah,
essentially, what is happening? What is happening? Like, at this, essentially at the same time, is, I kind of mouth to Keely, something's gone wrong, and I throw the thing essentially to like this as a distraction in that moment, while I like usher Keely to get up and run.
Okay. Yeah, you have reflexes, so you'll get to act. And because this is downtime, I'm inclined to say that you'll get to use a like sharpshooter kind of level of move here without having to spend stress. So what cool dagger thing do you do in this moment?
Right. I mean, I guess I should establish what were what was Katrina and the others, what were they doing when she saw me? Were they like eating, drinking?
Yeah, I think they like sat down and have mugs of ale, and you could imagine that maybe they were going to be eating, and they appear to be like blowing off steam. You can tell that they have muddy boots, they have tousled clothing. One of them is like picking burrs out of a cloak, and they look fairly tired.
Mm-hmm. Right. So this is the wild and stupid thing that I'm essentially trying to do. I wanna break one of the legs of the table that they're sitting at, so everything that's on the table just falls down as a source of distraction.
Is that and like doing that with a knife?
Yes.
Or throwing dagger?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you give me a fortune roll using your hunt?
Okay. That's 2 dice. What does the devil have to say?
I think
the whole place is on a sinkhole, and you're all gonna.
Yeah, I think
the devil says if I miss, someone just plain dies. I don't know.
You hit Keely instead. Like, oh, sorry.
No, I think the devil's bargain is that I'll give you an extra die if we establish that in the escape, Keely is injured.
Mm-hmm. What do we mean by injured?
She takes the equivalent of level 1 harm.
Level 1 harm, boy. Level 1 harm is not death.
Oh boy, it's not death.
I mean, I don't need to worry about Keely's actual mechanical recovery. Those things will happen while I'm not observing. But Keely doesn't deserve it. You know what? I will take it. I'll take it. Oh my god.
All you have to do is deal with the narrative consequences.
Okay. So 3 die fortune roll.
Took the devil's bargain.
Submit.
We're in big trouble, Chad.
I said I'd get you next time.
No notes. 463.
Ooh, that's good.
Okay. So yeah, you toss the dagger. It just cuts, or actually, you notice a leg that's been repaired and just cut through the patch.
Mm-hmm.
There's like there were like extra, like a couple extra little bits that had been like nailed on to try to repair it or something, and you chop through that, and the table like pitches, ale goes everywhere, people like get up and shuffle away, and there's a bunch of cover. But as you're kind of ushering Keely out, her cloak, the hood of her cloak falls back, and she gets cut across the ear by a crossbow bolt that thuds into the door just behind you as you get out. And so she's holding her ear on the way, kind of as the two of you are fleeing the town or whatever. And you can imagine that Katrina has seen Keely's face and associates her with you.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I on the way out as we like skip away. I'm not sure if we got here on horseback or if we like essentially just running down the open path on foot. But I like take out a spare kerchief and start like bandaging the back of Keely's head, and I'm cursing the entire time because I thought that this is going to work, and now we've essentially been made, and that's not good. So yeah, right, cool, nice.
But you still put 2 ticks on that clock.
I did, but at what cost?
Yeah, but at what cost?
Oh Lord.
So that is that, and I think we have a action left for Ciaran, and
Yes.
we probably got, I would say, half an hour, maybe 35 to 40 minutes to play. So I think we can probably do that scene and then maybe one other bit if y'all would like.
Did Harvest do 2 or 1? Did I miss one?
Harvest did 2.
Okay.
Recovery and wrestling.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I knew the wrestling. It was the recovery. I forgot. I was so interested in the wrestling. I forgot about the recovery part. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, we just didn't zoom in to
Gotcha.
dramatize that very
Gotcha.
much. But yeah, Alex, what is Ciaran's approach to kind of bring these two leaders together?
So I want them on somewhat more neutral ground. I don't want to try to bring one into the other's territory because both of them have reason to be a bit paranoid. So I will actually invite them to our cabin in the woods.
Okay.
So we'll we'll spruce it up as much as we can before everyone arrives.
Yeah, I think they each bring 2 people.
That would be when I negotiate this, that would be understood as, you will bring equal numbers of people.
Yeah, and I think like there was probably a bit of back and forth of like somebody wants to bring, the whole crew, and somebody wants to like, it should be in Belle Heather, but I will, offer you hospitality. And like, so there was some back and forth that we established before we even get to the scene that Ciaran has already been managing.
Yes. And I think what I will also do is I will have 2 of my own people.
Sure.
So who would Venner is going to be one between Harvest and Rowan. Who wants to be number 2?
I think Rowan volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds more like a Rowan thing than.
Yeah.
Harvest, go take a nap. You look like you need one.
A little stressed out.
A little stressed out. Go do some knitting.
You got to work on your
just chill.
You got to work on your intro. Like, do I start with da 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 da, or do I start with another music, or like what?
I mean, I almost am like, can I spend a coin on Harvest's behalf to be like, go take a spa day? Oh my god.
I mean, mechanically, yes, we could do that. We could spend that coin so Harvest could take an additional downtime action.
I mean, I think that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. But DongWon, if you're excited to go into a sortie with a ton of stress.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, look.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to do that, otherwise you're getting a spa day. And
I think
hot rock
narratively, Harvest being pretty stressed out and pushing themselves too hard makes sense to me.
We can come around back.
Your character, your decision.
Yep. Your call.
Yeah. So
Harvest is a grown up. The best Ciaran can do is be like, go take a nap.
Yeah. So we're getting into summer. And so I think it's, where I live, it is fairly hot and rather muggy. And I think Crobhan, as based on my understanding of the climate that they're likely evoking, it's probably not as muggy, but I think it is a humid day as Drosten and his people and Sienna and hers meet you at the cabin.
I will, of course, welcome them inside, offer them hospitality, refreshments, etc. But like the official hospitality stuff, like we're all friends here. No murdering each other under my roof, or you'll make me look bad, and I'll be very upset.
Yeah, so I think Drosten brings Brother Fior, the monk, and kind of another one of Drosten's like fighters, who has like a beautifully carved longbow that in conversations with the raiders you come to understand like she made herself. And it's like it's so big she has to be so strong to pull it. And then Sienna, let's see, I'm just going back down to Sigane. I think Sienna brought her husband, Lord Sigane, and she brought actually one of the competitors that you all would have seen in the tournament, who is in the melee. Let's say it's one of the shorter sisters of that trio. So like a fairly broad-shouldered woman of probably 20-something years. So
quite clearly as muscle. I mean, that was okay.
Yeah. So you could read this as they each brought someone for counsel and someone for security, depending on how you would like to do so.
Okay.
I think that might be how Venner could take it.
Yep.
Well, and I'll say I'm impressed that we get both the Siganes here, because that's actually a sign of trust that they're pretty sure I'm not going to kill them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they do have a proper born church recognized heir in Una. But Una is not here.
It's interesting.
But yeah, I think like Drosten just doesn't address Sienna at all. And Sienna just stays within arm's reach of both her husband and her kind of woman at arms.
Fair.
And like, do you have like what kind of table do you sit them at? Do you have a round table? Do you have a long table?
We're gonna have a
one on one end, one of the very far.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to decide if it's better to have the round table or the one where it's like you're on this end, you're on this one, and then I'm in the middle.
Just make sure we can get to you quickly if we need to. Like I assume I'm right behind you, but like
you know you and Rowan are right behind me. So okay. We're actually going to go with the long table because I know that there's some mistrust there. So we're going to give them their space so they feel a little safer.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking of that mistrust, I want to do a thing.
Yeah, what's up?
I essentially just want to get a read of like the tensions of the two groups that have arrived in this moment.
In a Powered by the Apocalypse sense, would this be reading a charge situation?
Yes, essentially.
Yeah, I think you can absolutely do that. This will be a gather information check. What action would you like to use? I think survey is probably going to give you survey, or study would give you decent effect here.
But I only have the dot in survey.
Sure. Yeah, so I think that to me reads like you're kind of like reading vibes slash like the Western movie shootout, like moments before the draw, like looking for that kind of stuff, if that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm. Is that a fortune roll or an action roll?
That will be a fortune roll, and you'll use your one die in survey.
Okay.
and you will get information no matter what. You just might get more or less.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, a 5.
So on a 5, yeah, so both Sienna and Drosten are nervous about things going bad, but they are not posturing toward one another.
Okay.
Can I note that Rowan is doing that? Do I note that Rowan is? Do I see that Rowan is doing, like peering carefully or something like that? Or
I think that's up to Brandon.
Oh yeah, I'm not like trying to like. Well, nah. I do think I am trying to conceal that I'm trying to read the situation because I don't want either of them to know that
gotcha.
I'm. Okay. So
yeah,
if you wanted to find out, you'd have to like do a thing or
Brandon,
ask me, but still.
Yeah.
I'll give you one follow-up if you have another question.
I do. How do I phrase this question? If this is a question that I can ask, if this is a thing that can be gleaned from this interaction, what do I think Sienna is particularly worried will happen in this? What is the worst thing that Sienna worries will happen in this interaction?
Based on how she's acting and maybe like the kind of introductory like small talk conversation and what you understand about House Gearr, you get the sense that she's most worried that this won't be enough, that these three groups put together still won't stand against Gearr.
I mean, that's a fair worry.
Yep.
I mean, it is.
I might also be secretly worried about the same thing.
Exactly. But I do think on that information, I do think I will just like try as surreptitiously as possible to get Vena's attention and say, Vena, how best can we show our strength in this instance? All of us are aiming for the same thing, and I'd like, as much as possible, for House Gearr to know that we can pull our weight when conflict comes.
So I take out the tiger lily that I had cut previously, and I pin it to your, I don't know, cloak, cape, whatever, the front. And I say, these flowers came from a special place. They speak to honor. And House Gearr is going to know that as well, even if Maedoc has forgotten it. When they look at you, you're already good at the secret stuff. Stand tall. I'll do the same. And then let Ciaran handle the rest. There'll be plenty of strength when all's said and done. And I go over to Ciaran very quickly, and I kind of I don't pin this to Kieran's cloak or anything, but because I'm sure that Ciaran would know, like I'm sure I've talked with Ciaran before about the impact of this, I just lay the tiger lily down on the table, like right where Ciaran is going to be sitting, and just look at them and say, if needed, and then step back a couple of steps.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I will stand on the other side of wherever Ven is standing and just like adjust my posture as much as possible.
So when he puts the flower down in front of Ciaran doesn't even like make an acknowledgement because, I'm being the Splendour, but they reach kind of in it and they take that silver chain off and they actually just lay it around the tiger lily on the table and fold their hands.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah. So how does Ciaran kind of facilitate this conversation?
So Ciaran will start out by saying, "This is my goal. we have a mutual enemy, House Gearr. We all have reason to dislike them and their place in power. We all have goals that will take us in the same direction, and we can work together to facilitate all of these as long as we are all willing to give. In the case of House Gearr, it will be support and also their willing acknowledgement of Drosten as one of their equals when we have taken Gearr's territory and installed him, after they have, basically extracted restitution for what they will risk. But Drosten will still have territory. For Drosten is risking everything on this. This is a gamble for him to become a legitimate lord in his own right and have his own territory. And in doing so, what he will be giving up is his illegitimate business.
How explicit are you in terms of making a promise to Ciaran about them not getting targeted by the raiders?
I mean, I want to say I already had that conversation with Drosten where I was like, if you want this to happen, you have to stop targeting them.
Sure. Okay.
And so it will be very explicit where, like, if this is an alliance, the raiders will no longer target Ciaran, but in exchange, Ciaran can no longer target the raiders. And while we are working together on this war, you do have to support them because they also need to eat. And then the pitch that I'm also going to throw in is when we have fully allied ourselves, the only power remaining in this province are the southern markets. And we will go speak to them from a position of strength, because if Ciaran is our ally and Drosten no longer troubles them, there is no reason that they should not be our ally too. And I will bring them into the fold.
I think Una's questions are really practical.
You mean Sienna?
Yes, sorry. Lady Ciaran's questions are like, who's posting on the roads? Do we have mixed like guard sets, or are they individual? How will we she's very logistically oriented, but does not seem to be pushing back on the normalization with Drosten stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She has some intelligence about House Gearr movements that she shares.
Good.
And I think Drosten, the sense that you get then is that Drosten is trying to one-up her. And he says, that's all well and good, but I've been clashing with Gearr's hounds in the woods already. They came after me as we were attempting to ply our trade. And thanks to some pre-existing alliances we've made, we were able to spring their trap and come away whole. That, the speed of the mongoose, the wit of the bandit, and the audacity to face the crown and come away alive. That is what we give you. Lady Ciaran, you have many strong warriors, but we are so outnumbered, we cannot fight fair. We must be clever, and we may at times need to be conniving. And I know that you, Lady Ciaran, do not have a stick up your ass the way that so many of the nobles do.
Just sort of shift uncomfortably back from one foot to the other.
I was going to say, actually, Ciaran just smiles a little bit.
And I hope that we all must understand that if we are to topple the bloody king, we're all going to have to get our hands dirty.
So I just quickly, I look right at Rowan just to see if Rowan has any reaction to any of this. Like if Rowan's like, yeah, I mean, oh.
There's a reaction that I think I have, but it means that I need to establish how a thing happens. Because I do feel like when Droston says you do need to get your hands dirty, I just like benignly point out that my hands are like literally dirty. And then just like go back to whatever my resting position was.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Sienna responds in brief by saying, I was born to mud with no family, with no name to claim of my own. I made my name through sweat and blood. You don't have to worry about that. Just make sure that your people can hold up in a fight if they are caught out and don't get to plink away from the woods.
I visibly smirk because I want Sienna to see me actually respond to that.
And Ciaran will just say, it sounds that again, despite being formerly opposing sides, we are all of the same mind. Behind me, I can feel Vetter radiating discomfort at all of this.
Oh man, it's just that scene from Star Trek 6 where all they're on the table and finally the Chancellor's just like, well, I see we have a long way to go.
Except I'm like, yes, let's all fight dirty. I'm into this.
Agreed,
I like it.
Yeah. So I think, Alex, I will have you go ahead and make that roll.
All right.
So, and
what am I
this,
gonna roll?
and are we taking this as reduce unrest specifically in terms of being a downtime roll? Do you still want to have that? Alternatively, you could just put ticks onto status normalized, and when that clock fills, that the Drostons and House Gearr will go from -1 with each other to 0. So from I will screw you over if it doesn't hurt me to kind of neutral.
Okay. As much as I want to reduce unrest even more, I feel like this is actually more of a normalized relations thing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think you can absolutely get +1d from having members of your retinue assisting you here.
All right, what am I doing? Is this sway or command or?
It seems like you'd be using sway, but that's up to you.
I'm fine. My sway and command are now equal.
Okay.
And you said, so this is downtime, so it's just a fortune roll?
Correct. And you'll have at least +1d from the assistance from your retinue.
All right. Go ahead and roll. Woo! Nice. I got 6.
Okay, so you put three ticks on that. Let's see, choose side. 1, 2, 3. You can use your, I believe, is that ambitious is the ability that lets you add ticks, and that would take you to 5, and you could spend 1 coin to basically get to roll again. And if you've already used those ticks, any result would fill the clock. Or you could spend a coin, roll, and then decide if you want to use those ticks or if you want to put them on something else.
I would like to spend. I'd like to spend a coin first.
Okay. Yeah. So you can make the same roll again, and I think I would represent that as the conversation continues.
Bring out some nice appetizers. You know.
Yeah.
There's a guy in the corner playing the lute. It's very soothing. All right. Let's go again. Got a 5.
So that would put 2 more ticks on. And so you would just only have to use 1 of your ticks from ambitious to fill that clock.
I will do that. That is worth it.
Great. So I think after several hours and a meal and things, I'd love to hear from Rowan and Venner. Is there some bit, some moment, or something that each of you would contribute over the course of this kind of long conversation?
I think at some point I would probably be speaking to, because this is during the hors d'oeuvres portion, right, where everyone's just sort of, I assume at some point I would be talking to both. I would be talking about the tournament, and I would be bringing up the woman at arms, which is Sigane's, right? And then to Drostin, and I would be commenting something to the effect of, I've seen some fighting styles I think both of you would respect. It would have been interesting to see the two of you matched up against each other. And, basically going into this thing about sort of trying to highlight fighting similarities between the two groups, and that in a way they're both engaged in a similar action. That would be my take, since I was an eyewitness to these things.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Brandon, do you have an idea for a moment to spotlight with Rowan?
A very vague sense. I think what Rowan really wants to do in that moment is because Rowan does see a kind of kinship in Sienna in particular, in Sienna's practice of House Gearr's ideals is very close to that of the Sloach in a sense.
I can see that.
So I do feel like Rowan would take a moment to just idly mention some of the reconnaissance that they've done already personally on whenever a potential threat to House Gearr appeared, and just idly note not only that they were aware of those things, but they were aware of the fact that Sienna was aware and was proactive in ensuring that those things were quashed even without necessarily getting into combat. Not so much overtly stating, but wanted it to be very obvious that they admire House Gearr's capacity for subterfuge when the time is right.
Cool. And Alex, I'd kind of kick it over to you to frame how you think this conversation ends up. How does Ciaran kind of wrap things up or put a bow on it?
So Ciaran will definitely wrap things up by just making sure that we all understand what we're agreeing to, which is going to be no more. Drostin's not attacking Sigane anymore. Sigane's not attacking Drostin. We're going to have some cooperative actions to get people to start working together. And I'm going to go attempt to deal with the southern markets. And in the meantime, what I want them to start doing, other than figuring out how to work cooperatively, because I make it very explicit that I trust Drostin and Lady Sigane. I trust both of you as absolute experts in what it is you do. So I see this as a chance for those expertises to come together and become even greater, because you now have access to an even greater array of skill sets and tactics. So I think that together you will come up with surprising things. And of course, Venner will work with both of you.
Cool. And I think Lord Sigane pipes up, having not talked very much, and he kind of speaks to the tall archer by Drostin, and says, Gearr has those archers of Avon's. Why don't you bring that bow by our soldiers at arms and show my fighters a few things. Maybe we can back you up here and there when we need to take some shots rather than meeting them on the open road. So there's a bit of an olive branch there. And I think you do, because you filled the clock, you do get we get the shot of the soldier handshake between Drostin and Lady Sigane. It's not super warm.
It's a start.
But it's sure a start.
I realize one other matter we actually do have to address is where Baby Gearr gets to go.
Sure, yeah. Because
they're currently still with Drostin.
Yeah, Sigane is happy to pay a fairly good ransom to Drostin's raiders. And I'll just jump into character for Sienna. And Sienna says, the nobles have their way of playing. There is a great tradition in the nobility of Crobhan of hostages and of wards. It just happens to be that Aiden will come to House Sigane as a ward through unconventional matters, and we will make it clear to Brianna that Aiden will be well treated, given the appointments due them as an heir of a notable house. And if we are all very lucky, this drastically reduces the chance that Brianna will raze my home to the ground. And you, Drostin, will have the coin necessary to gear up and prepare yourself as we go to war. You may need a few more people. And so, yeah, Drostin's going to have a big influx of money, and Sienna has a huge political chip.
Yes. All of my plans come together nicely.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to do in this scene before we wrap?
No, not in this scene, but I do have one thing just before we wrap that I want to do. One else. It's very short, I promise.
Okay. Anything else on this conference?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Then Greg, what do you got?
Just very quickly, I think when we get back to camp, I would go looking for Harvest. And I would, I don't know where Harvest is. Since Harvest is not taking a spa day, I wonder where Harvest has gone instead.
I mean, I think Harvest isn't taking a spa day, but I think generally when off duty, Harvest hangs out with other people at the camp, just sort of trying to find a spot to socialize and things like that.
Is it possible that Harvest is asleep at a certain point? Like Harvest is not going to avoid that? Okay. So I would sort of just, I guess, like kind of look in to the tent or wherever Harvest is and just sort of make sure. And then I would take the last Tiger Lily and I've sort of put it on basically right on Harvest's sword, sword, and sort of place it there carefully and then step back and kind of rub the back of his neck and go, too old for all of this, honestly, and turn around and stroll off, I think is what I would do.
I think the next time you see Harvest, you see the lily tucked into sort of like the pin that they use to hold their cloak together.
Hell yeah, which I wouldn't even, I just nod, I love it. I love it. It's good stuff. That's all. Thank you.
We are almost to 11:30. Does anybody have any last bits that they would like to do before we wrap up? Okay.
A very, like the very minorest of bits. Just like Rowan, very, very, like still angry about the thing. Just like briefly takes Ciaran aside and says, my Splendor, you know that there are very few things that I would ever beg of you. Yes?
Of course.
It's only one thing at this moment that stands out to me as a thing that I would desperately need your assistance with, if possible. Our friends in our friends among Drostin's raiders have suffered a great deal as a result of their kinship with us, and surely will suffer more. And I'm not sure if what I want to do is going to solve that by any means, but there is a thing that I'd like to do very badly if it will make our next moves against House Gearr much easier, if you'd allow it.
Mhm.
Suffice it to say that I need to find an old friend and kick her in the teeth. And I'd like our aid if possible. Your aid. Our friend's aid.
How old of a friend?
She's seen me make a mistake just like the one that brings me here.
And she will be trouble for our allies?
I raise my hand again, and you will notice that what looked like dried dirt before is actually like the remains of small specks of dried blood from the back of Keely's head. And I say, they already have.
Are they is she an ally of House Gearr or an independent operator?
She's Sloach like me. Trouble regardless of our allies and enemies.
If we do this thing, Rowan, am I declaring war on the Sluagh?
That's not my goal. I want to regain my place among them as soon as possible. Suffice it to say that this one pain in the head is something that I would like to deal with before it makes that work harder.
If it is as you say, and I will not find myself on a war with two fronts, then yes, I think we can all work to deal with your problem.
Thank you. And I step away.
Unspoken. If this does start a war with the Sluagh, I'm going to be very upset with you, and you won't like what happens.
Unspoken. I am aware that is going to be the case, and I'm trying very much to not piss off the rest of them. I just want to deal with this one person who's like, but yes.
I will just note that my connection with Rowan is that Rowan escaped my blade, and I have a undying loyalty to the Splendour. So we'll see what happens.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Hopefully this one won't blow up in Rowan's face.
Rowan keeps like making like what we're learning in this entire campaign is Rowan is very bad at making decisions based on self-preservation.
I just feel like, I mean, Rowan was already kind of the rogue, and you are falling into like the bad idea rogue like archetype there. Like,
Good intentions. Lots of good intent.
Yeah. Constantly willing to sacrifice my entire body at the pyre of good decisions.
All right. So I've got two quick questions. One, Alex, do you know where you would like to put your other ambitious tick? You have the fuck the church clock is at 1 of 6.
I will go ahead and put it into fuck the church.
Okay.
Fuck the police, I mean fuck the church.
So that is at 2 of 6. And then Brandon, does this mean that Rowan is spending a coin to do another action?
I am. I want to finish that long-term project.
Okay. You will get to make that same roll with assistance. So if you would like, you could be hunt +1 as another fortune roll.
Okay. So that would be 3 dice.
Yep. And you'll need a 4 or higher to finish that clock.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen with 3 dice, right?
I mean, I've certainly never rolled 3, 1, 3, 3, 3 on a command roll in Blades.
Yeah, no, I've never actively witnessed you doing that in a Blades game, played on stream in a Speculate game. Never at all.
I will point out that we could, of course, look to chat if Mike wants to add an inspiration to this little endeavor. I don't know what, Mike, modify what that means. I'm just
I
saying,
think, because you can also just then spend another coin to either increase the result level or just get a third action that finishes it.
Yeah, let's just roll the thing.
How much gold do we have, by the way?
What's the worst that could happen?
I believe we had 6.
Yeah, that's right. We had 6, and now we're down to 4.
Because we used it.
Okay. So submit. 441.
Okay. So that will fill the clock. Brandon, are you okay with starting the next session with that ambush?
I am.
Okay, then I think we should probably do that and go ahead and wrap up for tonight.
Good stuff.
So this has been Speculate's co-stream with Arvin Elleron playing Splendor and Shadow, a Rebel Crown series. Again, Rebel Crown is a Forge in the Dark game created by Michael Dunn O'Connor. You can find it at narrativedynamics.itch.io, and it's been fun to have Michael giving us some signal boosting, spreading news about the stream, so thank you there. This has been a great game, and thank you very much to chat for being a lovely audience with us. And I will invite our players to remind everyone where they can find you and your projects on the internet, starting with Brandon.
Hi, everybody. Again, I am Brandon O'Brien, pronouns he, him, or they, them. I am a writer, poet, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago, as well as 1/3 of the Speculate crew alongside Mike and Greg. You can find me on Twitter at The Rising Tides. My website is brandonobrien.space. I have a poetry collection that is coming out very soon. My debut poetry chapbook, Can You Sign My Tentacle, is available for pre-order now from Interstellar Flight Press. So if you go to interstellarflightpress.com, you can find out more information about that book and pre-order it if you like. It's getting a great deal of reviews that are simultaneously making me blush and making me quite astounded that I got really cool people to say that they like the book. So if you want to read a collection of poetry that P. Jelly Clock also enjoys, that's a thing that you can do. Pre-order now.
Cool. Alex.
All right, I am Alex Acks, and I have been your Splendour Ciaran. And I'm a writer. You can find me at katsudan.net, and I do a lot of TV and movie writing over at patreon.com/ I believe Katsudanberry. I don't know. If you go to my website, the link is there. And I have books. One of them is Hunger Makes the Wolf. It's cool. It's got motorcycles and space witches. And the other one's, yes. And the other one's steampunk stuff with rail pirates. It's pretty awesome too. It's the first book for that is Murder on the Titania and Other Steam-Powered Adventures. So please check them out. Thank you very much.
Cool. DongWon.
Yeah, I am DongWon Song. You can find me on the internet at DongWon on Twitter. And thanks for having me on.
I have been Michael Underwood, your GM and chief instigator of Backlash, because when you push on the world pushes back. You can find my Found Family space opera, Annihilation Aria, in stores. It's in physical audio, physical ebook, and in audio. There are 2 readers in audio, which is very fun. And I have a Patreon where I talk about tabletop role-playing games and the craft of writing and the business of publishing. I've been doing some video lately, which is very fun. And you can find that at patreon.com/Michael R. Underwood. And you should watch Speculate's The Case of the Cindered Seal, which Brandon GMs. I don't know actually which direction I should be pointing here because I don't have this part up. But that game is really fun. I believe our next session is not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, which is July the 25th, US time, early on the 26th. Japan time, since we have Iori and they are awesome. You can watch previous episodes at youtube.com/Arvin Elleron. And that is me, and I'll toss it to Greg.
Great stuff. Thanks, as always, Mike, for wonderful GMing and really evocative world and all that kind of stuff. So great work as always. And thank you to my fellow compatriots in the goal of getting the Splendour back to where they belong. This was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. And for those listening at home with Speculate, you probably already know me by now, but I am Greg Wilson, Arvanelleron here on Twitch, author and a college professor. I have a new Kickstarter, which is going to launch my Gray Shade IP in board game, role-playing game, audiobook, and of course the novels themselves form with Gray Shade, Renegade, and the last book, Heretic. And that is coming out, actually, Heretic, very appropriate for what Ciaran does most of the time in this campaign. But that is launching August 31st and will be ending October 3rd. So keep your eyes peeled for more details about that. And please remember, if you can, to support us on Speculate, speculatesf.com, where you can support our Patreon. You can get inside information about various campaigns that we're doing and behind the scenes stuff and GM prep sessions and all that kind of good stuff, and also help support the content that you receive here. But for now, I'm going to thank the Speculate listeners, and I'm going to thank chat, and I'm going to let the players go and the GM go. So thank you to Alex Acks, to DongWon Song, to Brandon O'Brien, and of course, Michael R. Underwood. Thanks, everyone, and I will see you lovely folks soon. Bye for now. All right. And that is going to do it for us for this evening. Although I do want to point out that it is not going to be all that you're going to get from us, hopefully this weekend. First of all, again, I thank you all for being as a part of this. This is a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to and enjoying this campaign. I obviously was looking forward to it anyway, but I just, over time, I've really come to enjoy the experience of playing. I really like Venercrace as a character, and just playing with all of the other wonderful players. It's really good to be able to play off of that, and I was having a lot of fun with this. So thank you folks who are here. For those of you who don't know, I've got now a cool new mixer. I've got a new mixer which is here and arrived and seems to be working really well. I can do cool like FX things with it. Like I can just instantaneously throw in some reverb like this. I can, let's see, I can switch up modulations. So I can do like, I don't know which one this is. Wait, hold on. I don't know which one this is. Oh, there we go. It's a phaser. Rah, 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 rah. How about this one? I don't know what, oh. How about this? Ah, yes. This is the 60s version of reverb. And of course, we've got, I think we have a pitch shifter somewhere. Let me see. There we go. Haha. Yes. Here we are. It's my voice. See? Higher. Like that. Know what I'm saying? So, anyway, since it's, whoops, there we go, let me turn that down a little bit. Since it's 15 years since I've had, yeah, I think you are getting both feeds. I'm going to have to figure that out. I mean, this is stuff that I have to play with a little bit, because I've never had a mixer that could do, like, that had built-in effects, actually. And the mixer that I used to have, which was my old Behringer one, this one, just finally gave up the ghost. But this one right here, this little mixer did so much good podcasting work for me, and so much good, obviously, recording for me. And I've had it for a long, long time. Like I say, it's really, I think, about 15 years old would be my guess. A Behringer, and so great job, Behringer, and unfortunate that finally I had to let it go. But the new one is in place. It's also a Behringer. This was the 802, the Xenix 802. Now I have a Xenix 1002, which is the newest model in that brand, and it's got pretty much the identical footprint to this. So you know, it's sadly the old mixer has wandered off to that great mixer place in the sky. So I have a Behringer that has FX, yeah, and I you know, they're not like incredible effects, but it's cool to have something. I like having hardware solutions. and rather than just software solutions. So anyway, I'm very glad that I can do something along those lines. And yeah, they do Crit Twitch, and they have like very elaborate ones for honestly not that expensive. You can get mixers now with a lot of different effects and structures and all that for less than you might think. But in any case, so I've got my audio back and running. It held together very well tonight, and so it looks like we're okay on that score again, and hopefully this will last me another 15 years at least. That'll be lovely. But that is going to do it from me. If you enjoyed what you saw tonight, let me remind you all that there's more where that came from. Tomorrow night, Saturday night, I am going to be hopefully streaming with a good friend of mine, Story, who is in town with his family, came up to visit. They actually arrived yesterday, and yesterday evening, and so they hung out. We hung out a lot today. They're going to be hanging out with us some tomorrow, and Sunday they're leaving on Monday morning, and so we are going to try. Everybody's a big gamer. What a shock. So we're going to try to see if we can do something where we stream with them. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be the entire family, because they did bring their 7-month-old, so they have to kind of pay attention to the baby schedule. So I don't know if that means that we're going to play a board game collectively, which I'll stream, or if it means that we're going to record, like if we're going to play just if he and I are just going to play some video games, or if we're going to do a Mep Report recording. Mep Report is the comedy show that we do, long-running comedy show, almost as long as that mixer that I had, with me and with Story and with Russ from the Our Vocalists, Russ Gruberman. So we might do something like that. So I don't know. We have to figure out exactly what we're going to do. It is also possible that I won't be able to stream at all, depending on how things go with the baby and all that kind of scheduling with them. So I don't know all the details of that yet, which is why it says on the schedule TBD. So I don't 100% know. I'm going to try to do something, but we will see what ends up happening. Either way, on Sunday, we've got, I believe, Sound Clash the Clampdown run coming at you. That's going to be happening tomorrow. And then, as Mike said, a week from Sunday, that's going to be happening Sunday, sorry. And then a week from Sunday, we will have the Blades in the Dark Case of the Cindered Seal, which is the other joint Speculate Twitch event thing that we've got going on in this channel. And that's going to be what we're doing next. And then, of course, we get into next week, and we've got, Adventures in Middle-earth, and we've got, got D&D with GOG, Ghosts of Saltmarsh coming back at you. We've got some Solasta. We've got a whole bunch of stuff happening. So you're going to want to be here for that, because it's going to be good times. But that is going to do it for me for this evening. If you liked what you saw and heard, I hope you will consider following the channel. First of all, please support Speculate. But beyond that, I hope you will consider supporting the channel. I hope you'll consider checking out our YouTube channel with !ARV2, where you can see past broadcasts of Rebel Crown and other such things. I hope you will consider jumping on board and supporting us by jumping on the Discord. That is always appreciated, with !ARVCord. And the Twitter, of course, if you follow me over there, that's !ARV tweets, and we would love to see you all there as well. So hopefully we'll see you for some stuff like that. Let's see. Just popping up one other thing over here. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Okay, now I got it. So we've got that. The financial side, !ARV shop, !ARV Treon, and those two things. ARV shop is the merchandise area. ARV Treon is the Patreon, which makes it possible to do stuff on this channel. But let me also remind everybody that I really hope you'll be able to check out the Speculate Patreon today, because !Speculate will get you over there, and we obviously have stuff that we have to consider with that podcast as well. So I hope you will consider jumping on board and supporting what makes this show possible, which is my channel for this part of it, but also Speculate and the wonderful people of Brandon O'Brien and Mike Underwood, who are my co-hosts on that long-running podcast venture. So I hope you'll consider jumping on board by supporting us in those ways. Also, if you're able to sub to the channel, this channel, that is always appreciated and lets you get those custom sub badges and emotes and so on. And of course, the publishing, !Icarus for my Icarus graphic novel, !Library for Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, and !Gray Shade KS, as I mentioned before, which is my Gray Shade Kickstarter launching August 31st, ending October 3rd. Big Kickstarter for us, and I'm really nervous and excited and happy for it. So hopefully all of that is going to go super well. And as always, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and exclamation point Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when they need help and to reach out to others when you need help as well. Now, we are going to do a raid tonight, which will be very simple. If you are not a sub, you're going to do this. The Arvanauts have landed, followed by Twitch raid, lowercase Twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. If you are a sub, you're going to do this, which is the Arvanauts have landed, and then you've got Arvany Hype, you've got Arvany Roar, you've got Twitch raid, you've got Arvany What, Arvany Woe, Arvany Smug, Arvany Witch, Arvany What, Arvany, all the Arvanys, which you can do once you are brought over automatically to the channel that we are going to be raiding. I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream tonight. I know we had a lot of competition and a lot of people coming on, so I'm glad for those of you who were able to show up here tonight. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Dragon Spear, Rock God, of course, the Rising Tides, and Trifity Mets. Thank you to my wonderful best mods in the business, as I've said. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers, Dragon Spear, Rock God, Rising Tides, Trifity Mets, Crit Twitch, Lone Wolf, Mrs. Dunsel, Prince Justin, and Turbo Tango. And of course, thank you to my regular viewers, 2020, Ask Diam, Echo Alpha, Nonstop, Timaeus, and TNS Mephiston. Thank you all for being a part of this. I really do appreciate it. And thank you especially to the players, Alex Acks, DongWon Song, Brandon O'Brien, and I guess me. I guess I was happy to be one of them. And of course, our wonderful GM, Mike Underwood, for really great world building tonight and really good work on the GMing. It was a lot of fun to play in that session. That's it. I'm going to see you folks here tomorrow for something, I hope. I don't know what it's going to be. But again, that is all to be determined. So watch my Twitter for that. Otherwise, stick around for the raid tonight. And thanks so much for being here. And I'll catch you folks soon. Until next time, everyone be good to each other. Bye for now.
So here are all of my encouragements for you all to make terrible decisions, as I am the GM.
Ash has a crossbow bolt in her side, 0 dots in skirmish, and 0 dots in wreck. And I'm so excited to see this get even worse. So that's one vote for escalation.
Skelly has 3 guns and all the ammo.
Crossroads has no guns, but Crossroads is a gun powered by ghosts.
Have we established that your guns are special to you? I feel like we're establishing that your guns are special to you.
Before this crew, they were my only friends.
You've known us for 5 days. You've known those guns a lot longer.
These are my babies.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Rowan was starting to do this, and then he realizes to harvest, this doesn't help. Like, don't do that.
This is not.
No.
This is
Like,
not
don't do
this.
this.
Like,
Yeah.
doing this to an executioner?
Yeah, that's not
I'm
what you
just
want.
like this, like.
We call that the go sign, you know? Like, yeah.
Oh, man.
This theme's great. I will do a fortune roll. Notes. No thoughts. Head empty. 1! I rolled a 1!
Yep.